In a previous video, we showed the Allis Chalmers WD series of tractors on how the traction booster work, and then we went out into the field and did a demonstration there. Today we're going to be plowing with an Allis Chalmers 175. We're going to talk about how the traction booster series works in the 100 series of tractors. We're going to give a demonstration of the controls. We're going to hook up our depth apparatus to the plow, and then we're going to go out into the field and do some plowing. The tractor we're using is a 175 diesel Allis Chalmers. I believe the year is 1973, maybe 74. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember exactly. And then the plow we're using, it's a 3-bottom 80 series plow. Now, if you note, we do have a depth wheel on it. It's not needed. In fact, I'll probably take that off. On the 100 series of tractors, it of course is a 3-point hitch. And if you look down underneath here, this is the load sensing takes place on these arms. There's a bar running across here, a torsion bar. That's tied into some linkage. The torsion bar is tied to this rod, which is tied to this lever, which is into the spring, which goes up into a rather complex layer of linkage to the hydraulic valve. In my opinion, the draft controls or traction boosters that work off of sense their signal from the lower arms here, I think works better than the type that's sensed from the top link, just from my experience. So with a 100 series of tractors, you no longer had a traction booster gauge, and I don't believe it was even an option. Looking at the console on the right side of the tractor is your hydraulic control levers. What we're going to need to operate this system is these 3 levers. Well, there's 2 here and the 1 here. These other 2 are for the remote hydraulics. This lever here raises and lowers the 3-point hitch, and there are several positions here. Right now it is in the neutral position. If I were to pull this back, it detents, and as the implement lifts all the way to the top, when it gets to the end of its stroke, it automatically pops it back to the neutral position. And now if you move it forward, but not all the way, it will lower the implement, and the further you move it forward, the faster it goes. And then it returns back to neutral. Now, if I move this all the way forward and just let go lightly, you see it didn't return to the neutral position. It is now in the traction booster position, so where it senses the load of the implement being pulled. So if I move it, just tug on it a little bit, okay, it's popped back into the neutral position. Now if you look at these 2 levers, this lever here is called position control, and that's really for a different function. That will maintain the implement at a constant height. The further you move this forward, the deeper it will go, and of course vice versa, this direction, this raises it. So we want to have this all the way forward when we're using the traction control feature. And then this lever here will control the plowing depth or the sensitivity as it's plowing. So all the way back, there's less sensitivity, and it'll tend to plow with a plow higher up. The further you go forward, the deeper the plow will go, and the less sensitive it will be. So we're going to start out about in the center position. Of course, we have this all the way forward, and then when we go to the field, of course, we're pushing this forward, the plow drops down, and we just want to let go. We don't want to snap back like that. You just kind of want to do it and then let go. See, now it does not snap back. Now that sets it into the traction boost mode. And so we're going to be plowing along, and then if we need to raise or lower the plow while it's plowing, of course we control that with this lever. So as I said, we're going to start about in the center and go from there. Here's a picture taken right out of the operator's manual. It describes how the traction booster system is supposed to work. You can pause the video here and read it if you'd like. So I'm going to grab our depth wheel apparatus. We're going to clamp it back to the plow frame. I'm going to remove the depth wheel here. It's not needed. The only reason why it's on is because when I bought the plow, it came with it, and it just looks kind of neat. So I normally leave it on. But for this test, we're going to just take it off. So if you've seen the video about the traction booster on the WD series, you know we have this depth wheel here, which will hopefully show us the depth we're plowing. Here's the field we're going to be plowing. It's about 1¼ acres, not very big, but it's very oddly shaped. It's not at all rectangular. It's all different directions. So we're gonna plow it basically parallel to the way I'm standing here, which I've never done before. But over the years, this field has just kind of gotten rough from plowing in the same direction. I just basically use it for testing equipment. We're going to be just plowing in one direction, and so we're going to be plowing up that hill. We're gonna plow, turn around, and come back the same direction. So we're going to take a couple of passes to get started before we attempt to set our depth accurately. For starters, I'm just going to put this lever about in the middle. We want to try and get to cutting 8 inches deep. It's a 16-inch wide plow, and our goal is to cut 8 inches deep. Then we're going to vary from there. Let's get this plow dialed in and get this field plowed. Here I had to get off the tractor 3 or 4 times in the next few passes to get the plow level side to side and front to back, but we did finally get it dialed in pretty good, and we're going to continue plowing. So our depth wheel for the test became a casualty of the test. As I was plowing, it lost one of the clamps, and I got plowed into the plow furrow, and I haven't been able to find it back. So I reclamped it, but this wheel got tangled with the coulter on the plow, and it bent it up good. So it no longer wants to roll. So I had to take it out of the test. But if you watch the previous video on the traction boost, you can see how it was supposed to work. So I've got the plow fairly well dialed in. I thought it was closer than what it was when I started. And here's a good example of what it should and shouldn't look like. You can see the transition here from the first pass to the second pass. That should be pretty even. And I got a little closer on the second pass, but it's still not right. Now if you come to the following passes, you can see how the first furrow fills back in pretty closely with the third furrow. So, and that's what we're after. I'm plowing a little slow right now, so if I went faster, it would smooth these furrows out a little more even. So right now, the plowing depth is a little inconsistent because the soil's really soft here. There's a few spots where it hardens up a little bit. So the traction booster is lifting and lowering it a little bit, and maybe that's one possible downfall of the traction boost. It will vary in depth a little here and there, whereas like a trailer type plow does not do that. The depth we're plowing here, we're plowing pretty deep. We're plowing solid 10 inches. Now let's walk down the little field a little bit into some harder area where the plow lifted on me. See here, the soil darkens just a little, and it's not quite as dark, so or quite as soft. So we're a little less deep, if that's the right word. So we're probably at about 9.5. So 1/2 inch to 1 inch less on the depth here. And as I go further, you can see it's a little sandier, so it tended to go deeper further down. So you look at on our traction booster lever here, it's kind of hard to see, but there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 marks. I'm about at 3 3/4 marks now. So I'm going to back this off to 3 marks. 1, 2, 3. Well, actually I can see it lifting the plow now, so that's going to be too much. Well, we're going to go to about 2.5 marks. No, that's not going to work either. So we backed it off just a little from where we're at. We're going to see if it holds the plow up a little bit. I don't know if you can hear that hiss, but you can hear the hydraulics hissing a little bit. That's a traction booster lifting the plow. We started out, we were 9.5, 10 inches again. Then I backed off on the lever. And here we're probably about 7, but the ground is just a little tougher here. But overall, this is incredibly soft soil, and it's not a real good field to do this test in because it is so soft. We're gonna go deeper on the setting now and see how hard it works the tractor. So we're still at about 3 3/4. We're going to drop this traction booster up to the number 4 mark. Now on this really soft soil, a little movement makes a big difference in the depth of plow. So we're ready to take off. We just want to push this lever forward, let go, don't let it snap back because now it's in the traction boost mode. And we're going to take off and do our plowing. So I moved the traction booster lever further down. You can see how hard the tractor was pulling it. Just a little movement made it plow a bit deeper. So I had to back it off again as I got down there a little ways. Yeah, right now we're we're plowing a good 13 inches. So that's way too deep. So I backed it off, but that's just an example of moving that traction boost lever, how it changes the depth of plowing. And again, if this were firmer soil, I don't think the increments on the traction control lever would be quite so drastic. Here's kind of another example of getting the plow tuned in. You can see where we were plowing 13 inches deep. I don't know if it shows up well here, but this mound here where the first bottom is now standing higher than our third bottom plow, and ideally you want those two to blend out evenly. So by backing that back down again, we should get this knocked down to about this height. And I think plowing a little faster would throw the dirt a little more to make this a little smoother transition even more. So I'm just going to set the cameras up and we're just going to plow for a while and enjoy the show. The traction booster lever is set to plow about at 8 inches. Of course, it's going to vary a little with soil conditions. And we do not have the depth wheel or gauge wheel on it right now. And it's doing a pretty good job of holding the correct depth. If you were not using traction boost and you did not have that gauge wheel on, it would plow really, really deep. So it's definitely doing what it's intended to do here with the traction booster. Later on, I did put the gauge wheel back on. I got about 3/4 of the way done plowing this day and then had to stop. And before I started the next day, I just threw that gauge wheel back on again. So we're going to keep plowing. It's going well. The tractor is weighted down with rear wheel weights and then front weights, so pulling this 3-bottom plow in these lighter soils is really not much of a challenge for the tractor. So we're not taking full advantage of the traction boost here, but if you were in some tough clay, which I have been before, you definitely notice the advantage with the traction booster. Here's a golf ball I found. These keep turning up. I believe my son and his friend or cousin were over here shooting golf balls many years ago, and these things keep turning up. So Stephen, if you're watching, I found another golf ball. Good place to end the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We're getting so close to 1,000 subscribers, and maybe by the time this video is out, we will have 1,000. Please select that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and please leave a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm out, and hope to see you in the next one.